Howdy guys, I know this channel is usually about real estate, but it's also about Alaska and why people live here. A lot of people are here for the outdoor activities, and that does include hunting and fishing. So for the record, this is not my moose, but I got a call from my brother today to come help out. He got this moose this morning, and I was very excited about the reason to leave the office so early. So this is a moose that we got here local, which is awesome. And if you'll notice, the road right behind us, or this small little trail, it was actually shot maybe 80 or more yards away and ran over here and died perfectly next to the road. You'll see we can back up right to it, so absolutely perfect. This is Marble here. Marble helps find moose when they're harder to find. This is a small moose. The rules and stuff vary all over the state and the seasons and everything, but this is a little bull moose, barely able to see that it's legal. This is the type of bull moose that would identify as a cow all year and make it through season unscathed, but Nick found it, saw it from close enough he could tell, and put one through it. So one shot, looks like it went right through the lungs, ran a little ways and fell in a perfect spot. And on this video today, we're gonna walk through how we clean a moose. And we've cleaned probably 30 or 35 moose over the years, so we're pretty good at it. But everybody does it different. So if we miss anything, or any tips or tricks or something that you think we should have done, just drop them in the comments as we go through. And hope you enjoyed the video, and welcome to Alaska. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is get a bug deterrent out. There's a few flies and stuff sticking around that follow the moose around. It's not too bad, but Nick's gonna get the little bug machine that clears them up pretty good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start peeling the skin back on the side that's on top, so we can take these first shoulder and hind quarter off here. And you know, the goal as we go is to keep the meat clean and do it so that we can keep it clean and cool. But since we're local, we'll be able to take it home, you know, real quick. But we'll show you as we go. There's Nick with his rifle, his dog, and his moose. So we're about to get started. So first thing we're doing is getting the front shoulders off. We're peeling this back. Came all the way down the belly with this hook to skin down the belly so we don't puncture the gut bags. Very, very thin meat there between the guts and the outside. Very important not to hit that, or it makes it a much bigger chore. So see, as he's pulling away the meat there, you can see that there's the fibers of fat and sinew and stuff holding it on. That hide's coming off nice and clean, which means that he's leaving more meat and flesh on it. Pretty important to not nick the skin if you're planning on saving it for caping or anything, which we are not doing. Might save it for raw hide for the dogs or something, but we're not too worried about it. But we want to keep the meat as clean as possible and make sure that we get as much of it on there as possible. All right, so the thing was trotting at about 70 or so yards, and he shot it from the other side coming this way. The bullet might be right here. It came all the way through but didn't pop out through the hide, which holds it in sometimes. So we think that the entrance wound is going to be a little bit further back, but basically a perfect lung shot. Here's where the shoulder goes, so there's very, very little meat wasted, like maybe a pound or so of ribs. And look at that, literally just pulled that thing out. Nick, how much does that weigh?
300 grains.
300 grain from his 375, put a moose down very fast. So man, that's cool. So anyways, don't get hit by one of those. So when you pull up on the skin like this, it almost separates, and it's really easy when you're not actually cutting the skin or the meat. It comes off pretty easy. A little harder when you're going around, you know, knuckles and bones and stuff like that, but on this main part, it really comes off easy. Now I got one of these razor knives, and I just change the blade out when it gets, it's like a surgical steel blade, and I just change it out when it gets dull. Nick prefers one a little bit duller so he can go quick without screwing things up. I like to go slower with real precision, so it's just difference in preference on that. But you will dull in your knives a few times when you're doing a moose here. All right, so we've taken the fur from these hind legs, or both of this side, peeled it all the way back. We're about ready to liberate the front shoulder there. We'll lift that up, cut it off. Comes off really easy because it's a shoulder blade. And then we'll take this hind quarter off also, which is more work because it's connected with a ball and socket, and got to get in there gingerly with a nice blade and not hit the gut bag, which is really close. We'll maneuver both those off, put them in game bags, and then we usually take off the back strap from this side too. And then we've got a couple options from there. So this is a kit of game bags ready to go, all labeled in order, cleaned, washed, bleached out. There's a lot of different options for game bags, but my mom makes ours because she's awesome, and my dad is super organized, has them all ready to go. We've got all the pieces that we need here, and then we've got a few extras in case anything, you know, maybe we get a couple moose in a day if we're lucky. But anyway, so thank you, Mom and Dad. It's good to have extra people for cutting, holding legs up, holding the game bag ready. This one will be coming off here in just a minute. Front shoulders are pretty easy, and we'll try and get as much hair and stuff off of it as possible before it goes in the bag.
You want me to be on the rest?
Just right where you are is perfect. It's just gonna be a second. We're almost there.
So I got that leg in the truck. Now Nick's working on cutting all this neck meat. On a small, like a deer, there's not as much there. It's not much at all, but on a moose, there's quite a bit of burger or roast. Mostly burger is what we do with that, and it's kind of tricky to cut off of the spine there, but we'll get it. It'll be quite a few pounds of meat, and then we'll have the ribs and brisket and back straps and stuff to pull off too before we start on the other side. Like that's.
Then when I liberate it, you'll see the chunking that it's missing. It looks real ugly to start, but
yeah, big fat chunk. Throw that in the grind.
This is best for burger. You know, this is like brisket because of the amount of fat to meat ratio, and it's real good for a grounder burger.
All right, so that's a chunk of maybe like, I don't know, 8 or 10 pounds, or I don't know how much that weighs, but anyways, nice chunk of meat right there for sure. We'll clean up the neck a little bit more piece by piece, but we got the main chunk off there for the burger and sausage and stuff, and yep. Now we're cutting this hind leg off. We'll start kind of in the back and get it liberated from the spine area a little bit. Back leg is quite a bit more tricky because of the ball joint and because of the guts that it's right next to, especially when you're on the inside here. You're very close to the guts when you're cutting through the ball joint.
Pelvis in from the spine, and I'll go like this. Pull the pelvis in from the spine to the ball joint and separate that back leg before you separate it from the inside to risk missing this shit.
Perfect. So we got this peeled way back to the ball joint here. Now I'm gonna grab the leg and pull it this way while Nick comes in from the other side and gets all this liberated all the way up. And then once we get it off the ball joint, we've got my son Alaric holding the game bag ready to put it in, because this one is quite a bit heavier than the front leg. So it's really good to have an extra person to help lift the leg as he's going around cutting it. I can pull up more and change angles because it's a very tight spot to work down there. So I got the ball joint here, and when that pops, it can come right off. Oh, there's an artery there. Looks like it's bleeding. Oh, back the other way, Nick. There we go. Try to make sure we landed on the hide there to keep it out of the stuff. Got that, Nick?
No.
Okay.
Well, I will.
Okay. Ah, sorry. There we go. There we go.
How much do you think that weighs?
A lot. Even though it's a smaller moose.
I don't know, 80.
It's slippery. So we got that hind leg off from that ball socket there, and then the pelvic bone here is in the way of the back strap. So we're gonna cut there and peel up the back strap and take that off. That's a premium cut of meat there. I forgot to mention earlier how big this moose is. It's a pretty small moose. In this unit, you're only allowed to shoot the small bulls or the large bulls. This one is a little bull. It's probably about 1.5 years old, and I don't know how much it weighs, maybe 600 or 700 pounds, I'm just guessing. So this is, a big moose can literally be twice this size. This is probably the weight of a really big elk, and it's a small moose, but very, very tender size. This is what most people get around here because they're young and not educated. The big ones are usually a lot smarter and not hanging around next to the road in hunting season. So I came around this chunk of pelvis here, and then I flayed down right up against its spine on this side, and then I traced up on the top here. So over here we've got the back of the ribs, but back here it's actually the gut. So I got to be real careful over here, and we'll end up flaying off this whole length of backstrap premium steak, which will look pretty sweet when I get that pulled up. Okay, one more other point of contention here on the most hunts in Alaska, or a lot of them, where there's antler restrictions or sex restrictions on what's a legal animal, they require you to leave the evidence of sex attached to the meat until it's to the point of processing, which is never fun. and always kind of a pain. So anyways, we took off this hind leg and we left the evidence of sex on the other one. We don't like it, you know, bouncing around our meat, you know, so we wrap it up like that, get it taken care of, and then when we take off the other leg, we'll be able to leave it attached naturally to the meat right there, and we can finish cleaning that. And then when we get it to the butcher, then it's legit. If we were cleaning it ourselves, we'd have to leave it on until we get it to our house or wherever we're processing it. We're gonna get this all cleaned up and take it to a butcher to do the fine work for the most of it. I've almost got this back strap off. You can see how I'm flaying right up. Those ones are the ribs, top of the ribs, and those are the backbone there, which gets a lot fatter up at the top where the moose have that big rump. And in the meantime, while Nick's waiting for me, he's skinning down that leg, getting it prepped for when we flip this moose over. So almost there on this side. So here's that back strap I pulled off. I don't know how much this weighs, but it is awesome. There's this big layer of fat on the back. The fat's not quite as good as it is on farm beef, but it's still pretty good. Sometimes we trim that down a little bit, but yeah, that's a huge piece of meat. This is one side of the back strap. That is massive. And if you made it this far in the video, you're probably jealous, as you should be. So anyways, there's the neck bones coming out, and there's the spine from where that back strap was. Did a pretty good job. Hey, simmer. Simmer. Hey, simmer. Good boy. So we're gonna grab this moose and flip it by the legs and roll it over here to the, you know, we're trying to keep it clean, so we're gonna roll it on its own hide. Especially if you get a bigger moose with bigger antlers, the antlers are in the way when we flip it, but even with the little one, we don't want the extra tension on the neck. So Alaric's gonna pick up the head and roll it this way while me and Nick grab those legs and roll it onto this, and then we'll start again. And so for reference here, we started at about 9. It's been a little over an hour, but we took a break and went and talked about the hunting story, about where he shot it and how it ran and all that cool stuff. So, and we're taking our time, weather's good. So this is about an hour in, this is about an hour in, but you could do it a little quicker if you were in a hurry, if it was downpouring rain or something like that. Roll it over. A lot of blood coming out the bullet hole over there, gushing out. All right. So we're gonna turn it over now. We can skin down this side and basically do the same thing. We'll find the entrance hole here in a few minutes, and we'll do an autopsy, make sure it's not going anywhere, stuff like that. All right, so because of the angle that it was running, he hit it a little bit further back, but that's perfect because it came out right before the front shoulder. So it went in about here and came out about here on the other side. So I don't think that there's like any meat damage. Hopefully we didn't screw up the liver on it, but I think we'll be pretty good. All right, so Nick's taking off this front shoulder here. It's almost liberated. We got to get the game bag and stuff ready. Got this lattice pattern, look kind of neat from peeling off the skin here. I think I've got the skin mostly liberated off the back, but it's kind of hard the way it's sitting, so we might need to go an extra 1/4 of an inch or something here when we're done. But I wanted to point out a couple things. There's the entrance wound like we talked about. So before the shoulder by, I don't know, 10 inches or so. So that's pretty cool. And then it came out before the other shoulder. So that's about a perfect shot, especially because it was like trotting. And so perfect. You can eat this one. Another couple things when you're skinning them, sometimes the blood pools up, not like that, but sometimes it really pools up and it's hard to see what you're doing. And so you can take your razor knife or whatever skinning knife and cut through the hide and let it drain out. Didn't need to do on this time, but it's a helpful trick to know. Another thing, if you're not keeping the hide, sometimes you just cut a slice in it to grab, to help you pull, to help skin. Didn't end up doing that this time, but sometimes it's quite helpful, especially if you're in a real big hurry, if the weather's lame and stuff. So we got this side skinned. We're about ready to pull off these 2 legs, throw them in game bags, and do the same thing we did on the other side. Right, Coy?
Roll it back a lot. Good girl.
The 3rd quarter in the bed here. Something to keep in mind if it's a hot day or if you're going to be out in the field for a while is you want to stack them in a way that air can get around all of them. Really want to make sure stuff stays cool. We're going straight back today. It's not super hot, but it's a nice day, so we're not as concerned. But if you're going to be out in the field, it's really important to keep them, to get them to cool down quick for the meat quality. So here Nick's getting the neck meat off of this side, and then we'll be cutting the head off shortly just to get it out of the way. He was just pointing out here its throat cord is wrapped up in some of that burger meat that we'll get off, but it's really important not to just cut that without paying attention, because there can be bile and stuff coming up, green half digested stomach acid stuff coming up from its trauma and whatnot. And that stomach acid and bile that can come up from its throat there will really taint any meat it touches, so we want to work around that carefully. There's that chunk of neck he got off of there, and we'll clean this up more later, but right now we're trying to get the bulk of it off and get this head out of the way to keep it from contaminating with fur and stuff. Good girl, Koi. Good girl. Yeah, you're doing good. So in the last hind quarter, we started kind of from the backstrap, but because of we're on a slight slope, not much really, it's kind of in a tiny hole, but it's just easier to get this ball socket from the front. So this time we're working from the front more than the back, at least to start. But again, it's really good to have a second person to help angle the leg and get, you know.
Just pull that way a little bit. I just found the socket right here.
Oh, careful.
Oh, that's also
A little bit of guts there. Careful with that. Not sure you're in the right spot. Okay, a lot of blood there makes it harder to see. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera down so we can focus. All right, so Nick's almost got that off from that side. Getting pretty close. A little bit more grass and hair on this side because of the evidence of sex part attached. Ends up leaving some on it, but we're almost done with this one. Move that a little bit. Hit a vein there that bled out a lot. All right.
Okay, get it up on the fur.
Oh, that's up here?
Perfect.
There's a knife under it.
There's a knife
careful
under it.
not to cut yourself. Yep. Now we'll get the game bag. You can hit the button. All right, so we got the evidence of sex reattached, with the bag reattached around it there to keep in compliance.
Let it back in the bag. Let it back in the hive.
Okay.
Like that.
Yep. Get all that stuff tucked in. There we go. All right.
One more scoot him with this one too. You gotta pull on that, please. Pull on that instead of the leg. Yep.
There
perfect.
we go. Sweet. All right, that's the fourth quarter there, and we'll get the rest here in a minute. All right, so we got all 4 quarters off and the neck piece. We still got to get this back strap, and then we're going to get the ribs and the tenderloins on the inside. So at this point, I'm pretty sure this moose is probably not getting away. We'd have a really hard time outrunning us at this point. So anyways, I got the ears out of the way, and he's going to cut the head off so we can move the whole thing. Just trying to keep stuff out of the way here. We cut the spine off here, but we're still being careful with that throat that could have bile and stuff. We're going to deal with that like literally last as possible. We don't want anything from the whole digestion tract from one end to the other touching anything that we plan on eating, because it will make it not food. All right, so Nick's going to take that chunk off the neck, and he can clean it up at home, or he might just boil that whole thing down for meat and stuff. But as you notice, there's always one side that's slightly downhill. So the first side was easier to get the back strap, but now that we've turned it over, the back strap is down in this hole, and it's really hard to reach there. So what we're going to do is deal with this end up here. Really going to cut that off. We're going to take the torso and slide it so that we've got gravity on our side, and we'll be able to better see what we're dealing with to take off that really premium meat. I don't want to screw it up because I'm at the wrong angle here.
Right there. Now turn your head your way.
It's going to come right back down there.
No, it's perfect. Let the head down, and then the back strap is up. Done.
Okay.
It's gonna come. Oh, let the head further down.
No, I think that's fine.
Let the head further that way, please, 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 please. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I didn't want this end to swing back that way.
Sweet. So now I'm taking this back strap off. We spun it around and moved this hide back so I'm not kneeling in the blood. I'm just flaying it off with this top part of the spine, and then I'm gonna try and flay it off of that too. Try and find just the right spot so that we get all of that piece. Leave the part, the rib meat down there, but this is part of the back strap as far as I can go. Yeah, cutting right between those. I'm not even cutting the meat, I'm literally just cutting between them there. All the way down. A little bit more into the grass than I was hoping to be, but once you take the fur off of the moose, it slides around a lot, so it's a little bit harder to keep it in the perfect position. So one thing we do to position them sometimes when we start is we tie a leg to a nearby tree or something. It's more important when it's a really big moose, or if you don't have as much hands on deck. There's 4 of us out here today, so we got plenty of people to hold a leg here or there, but if there's only 1 or 2 of you, it's nice to tie a leg off, especially if it's a big moose. So we'll come back to this just in a minute when I get it the rest of the way off. All right, so just finished pulling that off of there. You can see the bone is nice and clean. Got that awesome back strap off. It smells delicious. If you're a carnivore, I think you understand, but this is just premium, fresh, awesome moose backstrap. So we'll probably be chewing on some of this later.
All right, so this has been a wild success so far. We've got all 4 quarters, the backstrap, the neck meat, all of that is off of here. And we didn't get any, we didn't hit the intestines or the poop bag or the throat or anything. So the throat's still over there. We got the head off of it. And what you'll notice here is we use some string to tie that off just so no bile and stuff comes out. It's a good pro tip right there. And so this has been premium so far. You want to get all the good meat you can off before you gut it. And now we're gonna gut it and dump. It's good to have a downhill range. We're gonna dump the guts downhill. Doesn't look like the bullet would have hit any guts, so it should be pretty good. But just in case it hit the intestinal tract anywhere, we want to make sure that we dump everything downhill and keep anything that might be inside off of the ribs and the tenderloins that are still in there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this moose and pull it up here, and Nick has a couple of clean pieces of wood. We're gonna try to chalk it because this hide is like slip or slide here, so it just wants to slide down in the hole where we're trying to put the gut. So we're gonna see if we can move it up here, chalk it with that wood, see if that works, and then gut it and put the guts downhill. So this is always hard because there's no good handles left, but we'll see if we can make this work. Right there, hold it for a second. Okay, well,
That'll do.
I think if I let go, it keeps going. So try. Okay, cool. You pause that now.
All right, so hopefully it's holding still here. I'm gonna start up here where the brisket is because you're less likely to punch the gut bag here. And then I'm gonna get the hook side of it in there and start peeling layers apart carefully. So if I screw this up, it'll be on the video. That'd be funny, but not cool. But this is why you get all of the best meat off that you can. So I got that there. Trying to peel this down with that hook. Oh, it's starting to hernia a little bit. Oh, looks like some urine coming out there, so I want to be aware. All right, so here's some gas coming out of the bullet hole there. There is some crap over here that must have got nicked by a bone or a knife or something, but so far we're in a great position. We got the gravity thing working for us. I'm just gonna let that kind of come out a little bit here. Yeah, something must have nicked this down here and it's not near the bullet, so it must have been a knife or a bone. Yeah, we'll pause the video and give this a second and come right back. All right, so this was coming out here, and here at the end of the last rib, we took that flank stuff off and put it in a pile to clean up later, but it's in the way now. We've got, this is mostly guts and stuff to pull out, but we've got the liver up there. I'm not sure if that's a piece of the liver. I think it is. So it might be some bullet trauma there. We'll see what we can get out of it. We're gonna pull this out, try and pull the whole throat out of it to get all of the stuff that can taint the meat out and away from what we're trying to eat. Nick's working down there, getting some stuff out of the way. The ribs that are there, and what I'm gonna do with the Sawzall, which is pretty cool if you get something on the road and you've got access to all kinds of cool tools, I'm gonna cut up the brisket there all the way up so that we can open up the rib cage entirely, and then after a minute we'll end up cutting the ribs down there, so we'll be able to pull off one whole side of the ribs and have access to the heart, which is delicious, and the liver if there's not a bullet through it. We'll get you an update on that pretty shortly, and then go from there. So Nick's cutting up there, trying to alleviate. Don't hit the heart. The heart's right up there in the cavity, so we're gonna try to not.
Yeah, we gotta pull it out if we're not gonna hit it because it's right here.
Okay, yeah, so hold that thought. All right, so there's some blood clots for the puppies. Looks like the liver got thrashed a little bit there, but I think we'll be able to get a ceremonial first meal or so out of it. And then what we're doing, Nick will be cutting this, what's that thing called? That
Diaphragm.
Diaphragm, there we go. Knew there's a word for it. Gonna cut that diaphragm off and reach up there and pull the heart out. Oh wow.
Liver got
hit. Yeah, that looks good. I think that, yep, that's what a 375, 300 grain will do to liver. That might be part of the lungs. I'm not sure what's going on in there, but it's not good. Diagnosis is very poor for this moose. So they're just saving this. It's basically blood clots and lung pieces for the dogs. You can't feed the dogs like edible portions of the meat, you know, but these are just guts and stuff that they free feed their dogs and mix this in. So it's not like they're just gonna give them a gallon bag of guts, but this mixed in with some kibble or some other stuff just makes it, you know, less wasteful. But Yeah, we'll see if there's any liver left, but it's looking rough for liver and onions, you know? Might not happen. So I just got corrected. They don't free feed their dogs. That means that they just give them all kinds of food and make them fat. They raw feed their dogs. So these dogs are spoiled. They get all kinds of stuff like roadkill and, you know, chicken guts and you know, carcasses of stuff. So they don't get free fed. They're raw fed dogs. All right, so sorry for the gruesomeness, but if you made it this far, you're probably not too worried about it. We just wanted to show the lung here. So clearly, you know, went right through that. A lot of that blood clotty craziness that we were just pulling out for the dogs, this lung is actually also going to the dogs, but that there is what we call...
That's the far side lung. It entered the top there and came out the other side like that. And that's the far side lung, so...
That's a pretty good shot. We'll take it. We'll call it all right. Good shot, Nick. So Nick's trying to pull the heart out without cutting anything he's not supposed to. The heart's actually wrapped in a bag. I'm not sure, is that the heart?
It's right here.
Okay.
It's in this bag.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, got it pulled out of there. It looks premium. And I forgot to give a time update. We've been at this for almost 2.5 hours, but we're going slow because we can. We're trying to film and having a good time, but you know.
It's already out of the bag.
Sweet. Sometimes it's wrapped in that bag, but he must have cut it out as it came out. So that's a really nice premium piece of meat. We'll get that cleaned up and it'll be delicious. There's the heart for size in his hand there. That's a decent sizer. Again, this is a small moose, so like a huge moose would be twice that size. But that's a pretty tasty sandwich waiting to happen right there. All right, Nick just pulled that neck through, so we didn't get like its entire gut track went out with no bullet trauma, no knife trauma. I mean, we did an awesome job on that. Looked like he almost hit it with a bullet there or something, but man, we're lucky. Sometimes the bullet causes additional issues. All right, so we found the liver. We're trying to keep it out of the guts because it's actually connected to the guts. That other item that he hit must have been the pancreas or something. It's hard to, wash my hand.
It was pancreas and lungs.
Something happened, but it looks like we do have the majority part of the liver right here. I got it. It helped. It's obviously very slippery and slimy, and it does connect to the gut portion. So you want to make sure that if you hit anything green, you keep it off. Boom. So we'll have to clean that up real good. But liver and onions is back on the menu. That is a pile. It's a good sized piece right there. Got the liver on a cutting board there. It's not huge for a moose. It's a lot of meat though. Hand for size. I just washed my hands. I'm trying not to get them extra bloody again, but that's a good sizer right there. Trim it up, dry it off, get the blood off, and then we'll cut it up for liver and onions later. Here's some coal fat, I think is what it's called. It's wrapped around the guts and stuff. Some people eat that. They put it in sausage and weird stuff. It can actually be rendered down for grease, for medicinal uses, for dry skin and stuff too. But we might have gotten some poop on it from where we hit the sack there. So we're gonna call that a day on that. But there's a little bit of this other internal organ fat that we'll save either for the dogs or medicinal use or mix in with the burger or whatever. Because you know, fat is fat. We took this animal and we're gonna use as much of it as we can. All right, so we're gonna take this off. We started earlier and we were afraid of hitting the heart, but we got the heart and liver out. Nick's working on getting the rest of the guts out. Some people would cut up here and take the whole brisket off. That's one option. Depends on if you're doing burger or brisket or what you're doing with it, but we're not too picky. We're just trying to get all the meat out of the field here. That's where the neck came through, so I might need the knife to cut some of that when I get there. Oops. I'm gonna jump up here so it stays connected and cut all these ribs off. We got the back strap off of these ribs, and we're just gonna come down. Full disclosure, we're not real butchers. Our goal is to just get as much out in big pieces out of the field as we can and let the butchers do their job, but we kind of know what we're doing, hopefully. I think I might need to swap the batteries on this. We'll just go ahead and pause that and swap the batteries here in a minute. All right, so I got the new battery swapped in. This is actually not too difficult with fresh bones. With a hatchet, the Sawzall is better, and a handsaw works fine too. The Sawzall is good as long as we got enough battery. Sawzall is the best if we got enough battery. But we don't have enough battery. Pause it. Okay, cool. So the tenderloins are on the inside over here, and I was about to forget about them and cut right through them, which is unfortunate. Luckily, Nick reminded us. So we're gonna get those tenderloins out, and then we'll finish pulling these ribs off. All right, so here's the tenderloins in here. They're super tender, but they're also very susceptible to pulling in flavor, bad flavor from the poop bag. So sometimes those get screwed up if the shot placement was no good or if you messed up with your knife, but these ones should be premium. We'll pull those out, show you what they look like. They're very, very tender. Might eat those tonight. I don't know, there's so many good options. So we're pulling that off of the back side of the ribs there. Super tender. I mean, it's almost trying to tear. It's kind of inconvenient position in here. Just getting this flayed right off of it, and it's just looking so good. I'm getting hungrier. Holy crap. Super hungry. So we'll clean this up a little bit, but you should be able to just see how tender that tenderloin is. Obviously some fat stuff to clean up, but holy crap, that there is just, man, smells real nice. So anyways, Nick shot this moose, but I'm stealing this. I'm eating it tonight. I just can't not. This is gonna be so good. It's crazy. Potatoes, good stuff. Chemtrail in the background. Anyways, it's gonna be so good. I'm eating this by the time, way before you see this video. All right, so got the other tenderloin out, which is super premium also. I guess I'll let Nick eat this one, I guess. But now we're ready to take the ribs off. So we're almost done here, wrapping this thing up, and it's gonna be out of here shortly. Okay, so what I did there, I was cutting too far down into the spine instead of just across the ribs, so that was a mistake. To do a little bit better.
I didn't mess anything out.
Yeah, I didn't mess anything up. I just bit more work than I needed to. I'll come up here and disconnect the very top. Nick will be ready to hold this thing up and toss it in this bag. Wait, gotta be careful not to cut yourself on the sharp bones. Is that free? Oh, missed something. Just a couple ribs right there. Sorry guys, just a second. Oh, it might have been lower ribs. I messed up a little bit there, but the butcher will figure it out. Sweet. Now what we're gonna do is put the other rib in this when we get that cut off. All right, so the rib that's on the bottom there's got more blood and stuff on it, so we're trying to wipe that up so it doesn't just dry on the meat and make more work for the butcher or whatever. So getting it cleaned up a little bit before it goes on the bag with the other one. Definitely clean up to be done either at home or when it gets to the butcher. But there's a lot of blood on that, but we'll get it cleaned up in there, and then the butcher ends up peeling a lot of that gnar stuff off anyways.
Off the whole outer layer of tack.
Yeah, but that's where the bullet went in there, and yeah, so there's a little bit of loss there, but literally on a 600-700 pound animal or whatever, that is not bad. That was a perfect shot placement. Gonna eat this whole moose. So what we got left here is the hide and the spine and the gut pile, minus the guts that we took. So spine we're gonna cut up, probably boil it down for meat. There'll be some waste there, we should be able to get the rest of it off. Definitely some cleanup before it goes in the cook pot, for sure. But there's still some good meat on there. The spine reduced to piles of ready for boil. Well, after they're cleaned up for sure at home, but they're ready to go in the cook pot. Sit around the campfire at home and enjoy hunting stories and meat. So not every day you get a moose right next to a little road. This isn't like a full road. It's just like a, tiny little trail. But you'll notice this is the first time we've brought a butcher table, which is pretty awesome. Didn't mention that earlier. Got our table, our vehicles, our truck bed, died right next to the road, even though he shot it over there when he was over there, and it ran like 60 or 80 yards over here and died right next to the road, just perfect. If it had died where he shot it, if he'd hit it in the spine, you can't see from there, but it is a swamp. It would have been a huge chore to try to do that, but what a premium morning here. Pups are loving it, we're loving it. Love it. So this is what's left of that moose that didn't make it into the vehicle. We still got our vehicle stuff to clean up, make sure we got everything put away and whatnot. But we got this, just the parts that aren't food, and the flies found us. But Nick's taking the hide. We've got all the bones, all the legs, everything's coming home. So we're pretty excited. What a glorious day. So that took about 3 hours, and there was a fair amount of lollygagging, like making this video and talking about how the shot placement went down and everything. So about 3 hours for a small moose. Could have been done in an hour and a half if you're in a big hurry with 2 or 3 people, but we weren't. And of course, a bigger moose would take a little bit longer, just because a bigger moose is quite a bit bigger, heavier. Everything you're doing is more work. And we got lucky that the thing died right here on this little trail that we could get the trucks right down to, and that doesn't usually happen. So you've usually got some packing time on top of that. But all in all, worked out pretty awesome. So we're tying this thing down to his car, you know, for the trophy walk on the way home. But let me just reiterate how small those spikes are. Those are crazy. Very few hunters would notice that from most angles, that's a legal bull. Looks like a cow trying real hard, but Nick's over there putting bullets through moose.
Check your cows.
Check your cows, yeah.
Check your cows.
Don't have to survive off of just salmon this year. Hopefully we'll get some more moose, but I got red meat on the ground in the truck. Super stoked. Mishki, did you have a good time? Did you have a good morning? What's on your paws? Have you been getting into the moose? What's going on, Mishki? Koi? Bad example. You're a bad example, Koi. Good girl. If you guys have any real estate needs whatsoever, please reach out. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, follow, comment, and you can find me on any of these other places that you enjoy your content. So thanks very much. Really appreciate it.